This is a gap in the floor between the staircase and the laundry room. The inspection report suggests the failure of the end joint components. I'm going to open up this joint and inspect the end joint components. Certainly you wouldn't expect the floor to move this simply, just by pushing on it with my foot. Let's see about these end joint components. Okay, here we see the spring that's supposed to lock the joint, springing and intact. Can't get this to focus with this bright light. Right here is the key for the keyway. Let me turn off this flash and continue this bright light. Okay, I've turned off the light, and now that we can see these components better, here again is the spring. Here's the key on the lip end, which is fully intact. I'm going to try to look in the edge here. Now I need the light. But here's the channel for the spring, and the key locking joint underneath all seems to be intact. Okay, let's see if we can push this plank back together. No, I didn't even need to kick that, just pushed it with my foot and I could hear it click. Alright, so I do believe that we can put glue in the end of this joint and put it back together and have it hold. Let's go look at some other parts. Okay, we're in the kitchen, where the door goes out to the garage. And you can see that these planks have drifted away from the door. Even this one here, if we get close, is just peeking out from under the baseboard. So it has moved too. Now if we follow these rows down, they go all the way across the room to the other end. It's a long run. So it would appear that the whole entire row, for 4 or 5 rows, has drifted to the east. And that is verified and suggested by this. This is one of the rows that's involved up by the door. And where it peaks out right here demonstrates how it has drifted over to the east. Okay, we're going to open up this baseboard in a couple of spots and see if we can't move these rows back towards the garage. Okay, we've pulled some baseboard off the floor. And as I get down close here, you can see where the expansion chamber exists, which is fine. As we come down here, we come to the rows in question, and the expansion chamber is gone because the floor has drifted in this direction, only on these rows. And when we come back here, the expansion chamber comes back. We're going to try to move one of these rows. We're going to try to move the row that has this peeking out from under the corner. So we're going to, of course these rows have moved some too, but we're going to put a shim behind this row to stabilize it and try to move this row next to it. Okay, the adjacent row is now shimmed to prevent it from drifting too far to the west as we try to move the row next to it. I'm going to follow that row down to the wall. And I find it right here. I don't know if I can get behind it, but let's try. Wow, it moved quite easily. Quite far. Is it covering down there yet, Paul?
No, just a little more. Beautiful. Yes, we're covering, sir.
Okay, so you can see that I've moved the entire row. Excuse me, Debbie.
Sure.
It is no longer peeking under from this corner. And it is no longer peeking out from under that baseboard. Alright, I'm going to try to take this baseboard off and shim that row now and see if we can move the next one. Okay, we've taken off that little piece of baseboard and we've shimmed the row that we've just previously moved. Now we're going to try to move the row next to it. Having a difficult time getting to the end of the row because it's moved so far. Well, I got a little movement from it. It's hard to hold the camera and work the tools at the same time. Here we go.
Keep moving all. Keep going. Okay, you'll move all 3 rows back, sir.
All right. I moved this row back, so I expect it's now going back under the door casing. This demonstrates that it was never cut too short. I've moved a couple of these other rows a little bit, but not far enough to bring them back out from under the sheetrock. Let's go look at the other end. All right, here we are at the other end. As you can see, the row now goes back underneath the door casing, almost matching an expansion chamber. And these other rows moved a little, far enough to bring them underneath the molding, but I believe they need to move a little further. All right. Okay, the baseboard has been nailed back in place, and this is the same door that you saw at the beginning of the video with all the gaps under the casing. This condition presents itself several places throughout the entire installation site. And I think just pushing these planks back in place may not be a permanent solution. At several intervals throughout this row, we should open up the end joint so that we can access the long side of the joint, the long side of the plank, in a couple of places to apply some adhesive, and then put it back together to try to prevent them from moving again in the future. There is one other area that does need to be addressed, and that is this French door going into the master bedroom. And down here we have a plank that looks separated and raised above the adjacent plank. I don't know why that is, but to correct this, The T-molding will have to come out and be replaced. I don't believe it will survive. And this plank needs to come out and be replaced.